mess up.
I love getting to the field every morning, and every day's different. You love every bit of it. My name is Jacob Lynn, and
I've put together the most valuable lessons that have helped me achieve more out of my life. Hopefully, they're useful for you too. Enjoy. This is brutally honest advice for poor people. I've been there. I had to fucking pay rent. Every night I would think if I didn't wake up tomorrow, I would be okay with it. And I don't want that for anybody. I get it. I was just going through all these old files yesterday, and I saw a goal that I'd written, which was to make $10,000 a month income. And so it was 13 years ago. And so like, I viscerally remember what that was like. And I know I was in so much pain during that time that I get it. And so like the reason we make this stuff is because I've been there, and I don't want that for anybody. You know, like I missed my 20s. Like I didn't have them, as people traditionally say it. You know, like it's weird because in today's like internet culture, like I started my first brick and mortar business, like store front. I was 23. Like I didn't know shit about fuck. Like I knew nothing. And like I didn't know you could hire employees. Like it wasn't a thought. Like I didn't know anything. And so like I cleaned, I did the billing, I did the sales, I taught the sessions. Like I fixed.
So that's called the grunt work. Without the grunt work, you will not go anywhere. And you must know that without grunt work, you'll be nothing besides just doing the things you want to do and saying things you want to say.
The equipment, like I did everything because I didn't know you could, and I didn't know, and I didn't have the money, frankly, to afford anything else. And so I get it. Like I get it. But to get out of that, you have to take steps. And the first step is saying that it's my fault. The second.
Agreed. Taking the blame for your own actions is stating that it is your fault. It is your fault. Everything is your fault. Unless if you change, unless if you act, unless if you react in a good and better way.
Step is that you have to use what you have. And so
Use what you have. I don't think I have to explain anything more about using on what you have. Comprende?
So in the beginning, I was reading the self-help books and all this stuff. And I get grilled on social media for saying this because of like fucking race wars, but like there have been slaves for thousands of years. There were slaves in Egyptian times. There were Jews who were slaves. There were Persian slaves. There were white slaves. There were black slaves. Humans have enslaved one another, period. And I like to think of things in extremes because it allows me to think about what's possible. And so the idea that someone else at some other time in history has worked 7 days a week, every hour that they're awake, with the threat not of their own death, but of their children's death, because that's what I would do if I were trying to control somebody. I would take their kids and say, I'll kill them if you don't work. And guess what? They'll probably work. That capacity exists. And so I would think to myself, like, I would try and put myself in that frame so that I wouldn't get into the woe is me.
Reframing is everything. The way I look at reframe is that you can reframe anything and make it be a better outcome of your life, because reframing is within everything that you do. So do it today, do it now, and do it for you.
Cycle and think all these things I could blame for why I'm here right now. Why isn't this working as fast? Like, how is it that these guys are making more money than me? Like, why don't these people give me the respect I deserve? Blah, 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 blah. And just say, like, what can I do now? And then just every hour of every day, well, what can I do now? And so it was, I have to learn how to market. I have to learn how to sell. I have to go to these groups where other gym owners are, and I got to learn their stuff. I gotta go to these seminars. I gotta save up so I can learn some stuff, and that's what I did. And so that's how I got out of it.
That visual of life as this like bloody game of tug of war,
Yeah.
where like most people, their hands just get too
Yeah.
cut to keep holding onto the rope is like it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
It was tough.
It,
So the first $100,000 is the hardest. And I know that sounds like an unfathomable amount of money. It took me 5 years. Like, I get it. So, like, you just have to save it $1 at a time. That's what it is. Now, obviously, I talk about other things like there are smarter ways to make money, for sure. Like, if you can sell expensive stuff, you can just move the decimals. Like, I mean, like, the thing is it is factually true. It is spiritually false. And I don't even believe in spirituality in general, but like, it is tough to sell a $10 million building and make $1 million commission or a $500,000 commission when you are broke as fuck. It is like you would have to become a different person, which is why most people's first sale is not that. But is it technically possible? Yes. A lot of people watch YouTube and the internet for complex money-making skills, and they haven't even mastered showing up on time. And so it's like they want to go straight to calculus, but they don't know how to do simple addition. But the thing is that like simple addition is foundational to that. And none of the other stuff will matter unless you can do the basics. But the basics doesn't make them less important. Usually they're the foundation of building, which make them arguably more important. They just are simpler to understand, but not simpler to do. And I think that's the big disconnect a lot of people have, is that they think because they understand something conceptually, that they feel like they have already mastered the skill, which are two very different things. And so one of the most common traits that people who are poor have is that it's always tomorrow. And so they never talk about anything in terms of today. And so it's about starting tomorrow, the diet on Monday, next year, my New Year's resolution. It's always pushing off. So rather than delaying gratification, they delay pain. And so rather than taking pain now for pleasure later, they take pleasure now and pain later. And so they flip the equation. And so they're surprised when today is later from yesterday that they're in pain. Because if last week you were like, I'm starting my diet this week, then it is now this week, and you've delayed the pain to today. And that means that the body you have right now is the result of the delayed pain that you are now forcing yourself to endure. And so,
imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
they're somehow surprised when the bill comes due that they pushed off from the past. And so the first lesson of getting out of poverty is two words. It's my fault. It's, I have to own that. And I think my fault, you can.
My fault, and what can you do to get out of poverty, and what can you do to get out of hell? Because it is your fault. You're not working hard enough. You're not doing the things you want to do. You're not saying things you want to say. You are still being broke when you are being broke.
Kind of extrapolate to right now. Not like, you basically have to own everything that passed to this moment. So all the pain that I've gone through, all of the Mondays that I've missed, all of the diets that I've skipped, all of the savings I haven't made, all of those are not my dad's fault, my mom's fault, my circumstances' fault, the country I was born in's fault, the zip code, any of those things' fault. It's just mine. And the thing is that people have this belief that because they have a strong argument for why it's something or someone else's fault, that somehow helps them. And it just doesn't. Because whatever you cast blame to is where you also cast power to. And so if I say,
agreed, if you point the blame at yourself, you're blaming yourself versus, or you're blaming your parents. You're blaming one or the other. There is no other thing besides that. So wherever you place blame to, power holds. I like that. I like that quote. That quote always hits.
I can't succeed because my mom didn't love me. Guess who controls me? My mom. And so if you also replace my mom with a race, a gender, a political party, whatever the thing, I can't succeed because of Trump's laws. I can't succeed because of the radical left, because of wokeism, because of whatever. You actually give that thing more power in your life than you give yourself. And so it's completely, the thing is that, and this is what's so deceiving about it, is it's very self-fulfilling, is that you get more evidence and then you get more confirmation, you get more evidence, you get more confirmation, and the more your life sucks, the more you're confirmed that you were right. But do you want to be right about the fact that your life sucks? Or would you rather, I think it's an old Zig Ziglar saying, he said you can either be right or you can be rich. And I mean, it's simple, but this is what he was getting at, is that you can say, you know what? You
can either be right or you can be rich. Damn, that one really hit me hard. Because you can either be right or you can be rich. You can choose one or the other. It depends upon what the one thing is. All the things that matter is that what do you want to be? You want to be right or you want to be rich?
are right. Your dad kicked the shit out of you your whole life and you don't have any confidence because he told you you're a piece of shit every day. You're right. But in order to be rich, you need to let that go. Because every day you say that I'm not successful because of this, it means because this now owns you. And for me personally, that realization that the thing that I hated most in the world, the things that I blamed for why my life wasn't the way it was, I was their bitch. And just realizing that made me angry. But through that anger, I was able to say, well, fuck them. I will succeed despite the fact that my dad said this, or my mom said this, or Barack Obama said this, or Trump said this, or the woke left says what. Despite that, despite the fact that the chips are stacked against me.
Despite the fact that chips are batting against you, knowing that the chips are, you can change anything you want. You can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. You can change anything that you want. It's just how hard or how difficult are the chips are now versus other times.
I will still win.
Why does saying my fault and taking that accountability begin to set someone down the path of making more money?
And so if we think about success in terms of layers, like foundations, right? The base level, like when you're digging the building where you put the hole and you pour the concrete in, the base of the entire thing is who is in power?
Who's in power? Who holds the blame? Who holds the finger that you cast a shadow upon to show why they hold the blame?
Who is source? Because if it's anything but you in that base layer, all of the other things on top of them will topple down. It's a foundation of sand otherwise. You can't build on top of blaming other people. There's nothing that stands on it. You see, like, I want to learn sales, but I can't learn sales because I didn't get hugged enough as a kid, and so I don't like people. And so as long as you keep holding on to that, you have sand as your foundation. But if you want to learn how to sell, or you want to learn how to market, or you want to learn how to do whatever, until you say, well, it's my fault that I don't know it, and because of that, it's within my power to change it.
So it's not sales books. It's not reading offers. It's not even your books.
At the very beginning, you have to accept that, which is the first two words: my fault, my responsibility, all me. I am source. And then once you can accept that one thing, and what's crazy is that one foundation is where 90% of people literally aren't. They're not there. They can't do it. The reason my girlfriend left me is because of this, not me. The reason I lost my job is because my employer was a dick. My boss sucked. Whatever, the economy. But it never.
It always gets bigger and bigger and bigger when you point the blame, because it casts a bigger and wider shadow of why you are not doing your potential, or why you are not doing what you say you want to do. So do what you want. Nobody's stopping you.
Serves you. Like, give me one instance, one example. This is to anyone who's listening to this. One example of when you blamed something else and it made you better. One.
For me, nothing. Nothing where I cast shadow or blame made me better. So that's, for me, nothing for one.
You can't find it because it's fundamentally not true.
You can't find it because it's fundamentally not true. That is so true. You cannot find it because it is not true. Because when you pass the shadow of blame, it shows you where the blame follows. Do I need to explain any more to any of you stupid people?
And so you cannot both desire to get better and also maintain blame. You have to pick.
When did this really hit home for you? Was it when you lost money?
No, when I was 19 years old, I had to write an essay about depression in an intro to psych class. And I don't talk about my mother very much, but I used to harp a lot. I was an equal opportunity angry person. I was angry at everybody. In other words, I blamed everyone. And so I blamed her for X, Y, and Z. And I remember having to write this essay on depression, and you had to do it from someone else's perspective. And so you had to say, how would the environment and their upbringing, things like that, contribute to the outcomes in their life? And so by writing.
How does it contribute to the outcomes in your life? Whatever contributions of outcomes in your life or into other people's lives, know that it is only for you and truly only for you to know.
The essay, true or not, to be clear, about my mother's upbringing and how hard she had as an immigrant coming here, getting beat up as a kid, getting made up for not being able to speak the language, all that kind of stuff. And this was in the fucking 50s. It's when it was more accepted to beat up foreigners rather than let them in. Anyways, so she had a tough time. And so it made sense. And when I framed it like that, I was like, maybe she's actually a massive success given.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words,
where she started. And so then I thought to myself, now mind you, I still wasn't over it, but it was in this process that the first thing that happened is when I went back home for fall break or winter break, I remember she said something to me which would normally just be the beginning of some big fight. You get into these routines. I'll say this thing that we both hate and then we'll just get in a nice fight about it. And she said the trigger, and I was just like, I understand you. I'm sorry you went through the stuff you went through. And she just like looked completely shocked and then just like started bawling. And so I was like, we're cool. Like, you don't anger me anymore. And I think for the most part since then, like that's been more or less the dynamic that shifted. But leading into that was also the idea that all the relationships that I'd had that I'd blamed for not working because of the dynamic that I had with my mother, I was like, I am giving her this power over my love life. Ugh, that's gross. And so I was like, well, I'd rather just say it's on me to change and not have my mom or parents at all involved in my relationships. And so